Coming to you from somewhere in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
The horror.
It's the little podcast of horrors with James, Christina, and Chris.
Hello, friends.
And enemies.
And others.
Acquaintances. Casual people who haven't decided one way or the other. They're like, still on the fence about it.
Passers-by.
Welcome to Little Podcast of Horrors.
I'm Christina.
And I'm Big Papa Chris.
There he is.
There he is. In all his magnificence. How's everybody doing today? Are we ready to discuss things of the strange and weird and horrible and sad?
No.
I am so ready.
I am not.
Should I not be so excited?
You should be. I mean, the whole point of this, we're excited, people. This is fun. We enjoy this.
Except for James, he's not excited.
No, he's not.
I don't even know why I'm here.
He hates this. He's like, God, we still doing this? Fine, here's a story.
Kind of drag him along.
Which is funny because he's hosting today. He's telling the story today. Before we begin, what's everybody drinking? I'm boring. I'm just having bourbon and Pepsi.
Nothing.
Pepsi.
I just had a big dinner, so I'm not ready for any drinks yet.
You just had yourself a big dinner. Nice and tasty and juicy. But not like a cowboy.
Not like a cowboy, but what is?
Nothing. Nothing. Take it away, James. Christina. Oh, wait. Are you drinking anything?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not here. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
Is it just
here.
me? Am I just the alcoholic? Everybody's like,
No, I'm drinking a beer.
Sweet.
It's a Flyway Honeybird.
Nice.
It's a honey blonde ale.
Oh, nice.
It's tasty.
I was worried that I would be the one being judged as the lone drinker, but it's not. We can judge James.
Mm-hmm. Boo.
Boo. Boo on you. Boo on you, sir.
I welcome your judgment.
Boo.
I embrace it.
He's feeding off it. Look at his eyes.
Yes.
Yep. Alrighty,
So-
kids. Take it away.
I will.
Fine.
So, we have decided to challenge ourselves a little bit. And basically, as you may have noticed, we each kind of tend to hover within a certain kind of theme. Not necessarily on purpose, but just as it happens.
Do we? Do we really?
Just natural.
Who would've
Just
thunk it?
natural. Who would have thunk it?
So we've been experimenting with
Drugs.
picking topics for.
Topics. Yeah, topics.
We've been experimenting with picking topics for each other.
Not
So
drugs.
mix things up a little bit. Not drugs. Oh, jeez. So Christina picked my topic for today.
Yay!
Oh, yay! Is it going to be super sad? Are you going to make us cry?
Let's
That's a
see.
yes.
Let's see. No spoilers.
I feel like that was a judgment. Like, let's see if you cry, you heartless son of a...
So today we're going to talk about a ghost ship.
What?
So just as a warning, this episode is going to be rated R.
Really?
Oh my God.
Wow.
It's
No
a pirate
words.
ship.
Because it's on the high seas.
What's a pirate's favorite letter? R. Oh, you think it'd be R, but his first love would be the C.
So I'm going to tell you my sources right off the bat. Because
Christina.
so a couple of what?
It's just like back in high school, like you just had her do the homework and then you put your name on it. It's like, totally did it. It's all my work. Why is this in Christina's handwriting, James?
No, I only read a blurb about it, and I was like, I want James to do this.
So I referenced a couple of well done YouTube videos. The Curse of the Ourang Medan. This is gonna be another fun episode of me trying to pronounce things. That video by a YouTube channel called Bedtime Stories. The ghost ship that the government tried to keep a secret, the Ourang Medan, by the infographic show. Wikipedia to fill in some gaps, but most importantly, CIA.gov.
Oh shit! Yes.
What?
Yeah.
The CIA actually has their own website? I mean, of course they do. Is it just like you go to
think
the
that's
do you
what
go, like go to the
surprises
website and it's like
The CIA has a website? Who'd have thought it?
nothing happens here. We do charity work. Here's Phil painting some fences because that's all we do here at the CIA. Nothing secretive or nefarious.
Anyway, I just wanted to cite my sources up front so I could flex by listing CIA.gov.
Oh, James, I did want to ask. I heard it pronounced Ourang Medan. Did you ever hear that, or did you always hear it Ourang Medan?
It depends
I
on
only
what
heard Ourang Medan.
it depends
Okay,
on
okay.
what part of the United
I was just
States you
wondering.
come from.
Yeah.
Everywhere up north would pronounce it. How did you put it? Arong Magdong?
Ourang Medan, yeah.
Arong Magdong. Whereas down here, we'd just be like, hey, there's a Arong Medan. Hey, there's a ghost ship. Woo!
Okay,
Arong
sorry.
Medan, man. Captain. Head on down there, the ghost ship down there in the Mississippi. What's it even doing on the Mississippi? I don't know. There's a Arong Medan.
They're crazy. They show up wherever they want.
Bill, hand me another course.
So,
Okay, sorry.
So to set the scene, this all takes place in the Straits of Malacca, which is located in the Dutch East Indies between the islands of Malaysia and Sumatra.
Malacca
So
between
if you're looking at this place on a map, it's just a little channel that runs between the two islands. So this is a key shipping lane. It's one of the most important ones in the world. Basically, a lot of the world's economies are fairly dependent on this shipping lane, particularly China,
Oh.
India, Japan. And of note about this happy little channel is that 200. Let's see. I think the stat that I was looking at was somewhere about, on average, 260 ships pass through here a day, with
Oh,
about
wow.
1/4 of the
day?
world's goods.
Good heavens.
Oh,
It's a big deal. There's a lot of action
Wow.
out there.
That is a lot of traffic for ships.
So it's one of the most congested travel lanes in the world, and particularly because at one point it narrows to 1.5 miles wide at the Phillips Channel. So it gets tight.
Right, like a tiger.
So as leading into our topic here, more than 30 ships have sunk here since let's see. Well, 30 ships sunk here over like the past couple, let's say, centuries. But on average, one every 3 to 4 years. So about every 3 to 4 years, you're going to have a ship sink out there.
I'm just thinking about. I'm
I
still
don't like
back on the
that.
whole like congestion. It's like you got like Peter working on this ship, and he's late for his kid's birthday. She's like, "Where were you, Peter?" He's like, "I was stuck in traffic." Stuck in traffic? You work on a ship? You're cheating on me, aren't you? The thing is only 1.5 miles wide. That's enough for you, isn't it? I don't know where that came from. Continue.
So as of today, there are 34 shipwrecks from the earliest one being from the 1880s. And because of all the shipwrecks along this travel shipping lane, they pose quite a bit of a collision hazard. And also of note is that piracy was actually a huge problem out there until very recently, as in just the past handful of years, it has
Wow.
stopped being a problem, but it was a big deal for a long time. So let's talk about the USS Ourang Medan.
Let's talk about the Ring Medan.
Ourang Medan. So it's June 1947, and ships in the area receive an SOS from an unknown source. Or it was February 1948. People
Wait, what?
Huh? Wait,
That is really different.
I was like, that's a big jump. What the hell is
I
happening?
know that threw me too, because it's like multiple ships received this SOS, yet we're not clear on like which year and which month it happened.
Yeah.
I don't know when
Anyway.
it happened. It might have been 1921. It might have been 1972. I don't know. Sam, have you been drinking? Maybe a little. I don't. Hey.
So it's somewhere between June 1947 and February 1948 this happened.
Somewhere in there.
Okay.
Somewhere in
Okay.
Ballpark it.
So this distress message comes across in Morse code, and the message comes in two parts. So basically, let's see. So, and I say two parts. Basically, there's Morse code that comes through. The first is a very clear message. Then there's another part that's a very clear message, and in between those two very clear messages is a bunch of what I can best describe as Morse code gibberish, as in it was undecipherable. It just didn't seem like nonsense.
Oh.
Those like clear message 1, blah 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 blah, clear message 2.
Hmm.
And why that's the case is will probably become clear here. So anyway, the first message that comes through translates from Morse code to SOS from Ourang Medan. All officers, including the captain, are dead, lying in chart room and bridge, possibly whole crew dead. Then some Morse code gibberish comes across, and then finally, I die.
Ah!
And
Hold on.
silence.
The message said I die?
Whoa.
Yes. And then silence. End of message.
I just feel like they're just like,
That's a very impressive slow death that our listeners will never see. But if
Yeah,
you
they're
enter
gonna
our
have to watch
YouTube
that
channel,
on.
they'll say it on
you'll get
YouTube.
to see the overdramatic slow death.
Yeah, check us out on YouTube.
That's how
and
we
you can see
pitch
my slow, dramatic Morse code death.
It really
And
seemed
the
a lot.
Oscar goes to not me, because
It really was reminiscent of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie when she stabs that one vampire and he's like, "Oh,
Pee Wee Herman.
Pee Wee Herman. Yeah,
oh,
that's Paul Rubens.
Except it was Morse code, so you guys couldn't hear
Yes.
it.
If you translate that into Morse code, that's what you get.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. I'm the Paul Rubens Buffy the Vampire of Little Podcast of Horrors. I don't know how to feel about that, but oh well, I'll take it.
So you may have noticed that message did not identify the ship, neither where it was. Which I find kind of interesting, because it's like you put out an SOS, but you don't say who you are or where you're at. Like, that doesn't seem very
What?
useful.
Well, I thought you said it did.
you-
It said
the
this
name.
is it said this is the
Oh, I'm sorry. So, as I was going to pour it out a little later on, some of the stories contradict.
Oh,
But
okay.
yes. Everywhere that I have seen, okay, so places that said the ship wasn't identified till later was one, but I think what I just told you was correct, because everywhere that I've seen an actual transcript of the SOS message, it says SOS from Ourang Medan. So
Okay, gotcha.
take it as you will. But as we're going to learn, the stories do diverge a bit. But anywho, that this is pretty straightforward so far. So yeah, but it didn't say where it was. So I was like, my first thought was,
Yeah.
why put out an SOS when we don't know how to find you? But anyway, because of that weird, creepy distress message, all ships that were in the area at the time were asked to be on the lookout, but none of them found anything, at least immediately. But two American ships in particular responded or tried to respond to the SOS. One was the city of Baltimore. A ship named it the city of Baltimore, and the entire city was not there at the time.
It's not floating around.
And the Silver Star.
Okay.
And so in order to find out where this message came from, they basically leveraged some British and Dutch listening posts and used the combination of them to triangulate where the signal originated from.
Oh,
They did some triangulation.
they did.
And one of the other versions of the story says that's when they figured out that the identity of the ship was an SS Ourang Medan. So
Anybody
either
that's,
was in the distress message or it wasn't.
Or not.
They figured it out when they triangulated.
anybody that's wondering, triangulation is when you take 3 points and you make a triangle. If it was 4, then
Not
it
to
would
be confused
you
with
just-
square angulation.
I was gonna say, if you take 4
Triangulation.
points, you're just a square. Nobody's gonna talk to you then.
So, either method by which this ship is identified, it is identified as the Dutch freighter SS Ourang Medan. So, to pause real quick to talk about that name, Ourang. So there's 2 ways to spell at least the word that the name derives from. There's Ourang that the ship uses, Ourang, or alternate spelling, Orang, which is a Malaysian or Indonesian word that translates to either man or person. And
Okay.
Medan is the largest city in Sumatra, which I said was one of the 2 islands. So basically, the ship's name translates into Man of Medan.
Isn't that a video game?
Oh yeah, I'm glad you said. That was the next thing I was going to say. Is like I was literally playing Man of Medan like right before we started recording, and I didn't know until I was researching this that was a reference to the Ourang Medan. I had no idea that I was playing a game about that related to the topic. So,
That makes
yes,
sense.
there is a video game series called Man of Medan, the Dark Anthology.
And thus comes full circle.
Yeah, I barely got past the intro on that game, so
So they triangulate this ship's location to find that it was actually pretty far away. It's way off in the Indian Ocean, far away from all the common shipping lanes. So it's just kind of,
oh,
for all intents and
drifting.
purposes, out there in the middle of nowhere doing for Lord knows what reason.
Out there doing God knows what.
Whatever it was, it didn't end well.
Yeah, it didn't.
So one of those 2 responding ships, the Silver Star, actually finds the ship. So the Silver Star was specifically a U.S. merchant ship. Ended up being the closest one, which again, it was relatively closest because again, it's a bit of distance away. But one thing to note about the Silver Star, because depending on what you're reading, some have tried to debunk the Silver Star's existence by saying there was no such ship at the time. To debunk, that is correct, but that's because the Silver Star at that time was named the Santa Juana. Later on, the Santa Juana is taken by new owners and rechristened the Silver Star.
Who won
Okay.
it? Who won
But
it?
still a real
Santa
Yeah. So for all intents and purposes, we're just going to say the Silver Star because that's what most people know the ship as.
Mhm.
Okie dokie. So the captain of the Silver Star sets course and finds the Ourang Medan a few hours after the distress message had happened. And the Medan is drifting just out the Indian Ocean with no power to its engines. So it's just floating off out of control, basically.
Mhm.
And the Silver Star tries to hail the ship. No response from the crew. Dead silence. So it's just this other boat floating out there without power, and nobody's talking back. And from their vantage point from their ship, at least from that distance, they see no signs of life. So it's already creepy just before they even
Yeah. This is spooking me out already.
Yeah, this is it's a little uncomfortable.
So the Silver Star approaches from the Medan's starboard side and tethers the ship to itself, or the Silver Star crew tethers the Medan to the Silver Star. And the Star dispatches a rescue party to board the Medan and investigate. So the team boards, and they are preparing for whatever horror they're about to run into, because it's already looking ominous before they've even set foot on this thing.
Yeah.
So they presumably prepare themselves and quickly find that the ship is full of corpses.
Well, that's fun.
And just find decks full of corpses. So what's particularly interesting about these corpses is each body, every body that they found, was frozen in a terrified stare. So just eyes open wide, mouths agape, and their limbs were frozen, like rigor mortis frozen,
What the hell?
in such a way that it looked like they had been fighting off someone or something.
No.
Oh my
So
gosh.
So basically, all the bodies just have these are frozen in grim expressions with their arms sticking out like they're fighting something off. in
I'm
horror.
sorry. Did everybody just not like after like maybe the third or fourth body found in this similar position? Did they not just like we got to get the fuck off of here now and run? I don't know why, but I that's what I would be saying. Like, what dumbass gets on a ship like this? And it's like, this ship is filled with bodies and they're all frozen in horrified states. I don't know about you, but I'm getting the fuck off. Okay. I'm not. No. Bye.
Well,
Out. I'm
Fortunately,
running
this
off.
was a particularly heroic rescue party that was determined
Yeah.
to try to find living people to save.
Oh, bless their hearts.
Luckily.
I'll be cheering them on from the safety of my, like, good for you. You're not going to help anybody because they all died in horror. Just like that.
So, can I ask though? You're saying like their limbs were like out,
Yeah, rigor mortis.
like
So like rigor
almost
mortis
like
style.
defensive positions.
Yeah, so they weren't like laid limp like the arms had. So you'd have like
Like
extended
when you're
arms,
dead,
like
you
they were
go
fighting
limp
something.
though.
Did Mr. Freeze just
Oh my-
take over this ship? Was he
I
trying
know,
to rob it? He's all
Yeah.
like, it's like, is it Arnold Schwarzenegger? Like, everyone chill.
But yeah, I mean that's part of what makes this so weird is the frozen poses, for lack of a better word, that they were all
That's
in. Because
horrifying.
rigor mortis had set in and they were frozen as they were in their last moment.
The people who find them, survive this? Like, I'm waiting for like I don't know. Like suddenly just the monster comes out and they die too.
It's a scary movie.
So,
Yeah,
They
my
even
mind's in a
found
scary movie mode.
Yes. They even found that the ship's dog, a terrier, was also similarly frozen. It had a snarl on its
A
face.
dog? Like we even killed the
But it had a snarl frozen on its face. So the dog was growling at something when it died.
good boy.
Oh.
Or
So
girl.
everybody and every critter was
That's not okay.
not
That's
happy with
nothing.
something.
This is I don't like this. I don't like this.
So that's just, what they see as soon as they set foot on deck. As they go through the rest of the ship, they find more of the same. They find the captain's corpse just on the bridge, and they found the officers and the wheelhouse in the chart room and all the engineers at their stations. So everybody was where they should have been had they been alive. So as if they had just died right where they were instantly.
Like they all had like this sounds like it was instantaneous.
Yeah.
And every single one has the same horrified stare and similar poses of trying to fight something off.
It's the poses that are getting me. Okay.
Right?
Well,
Okay.
it's the poses, and then it's also like this, like what? Instantaneously, the whole ship, even the dog. Backing away for a second, this almost, not to sound boring or to borify it, but is that a word?
It is
It's
now.
almost it almost sounds something like a freak weather pattern, like
a freak weather pattern
Yeah.
that
As
freezes
it-
everybody in rigor mortis.
okay, they were frozen in rigor mortis, or they were frozen. Like I'm thinking like frozen in ice, like I'm thinking woolly mammoths.
Yeah,
You're
they
talking-
weren't frozen in the cold sense. They were frozen in the rigor
Yeah.
mortis.
So they all died. But
So
even then,
I was thinking more like a chemical, that killed him. When I originally read the synopsis and I was like, I got to give this to James. But I only knew about their faces. I didn't realize that they were frozen in actual poses, which
Yeah.
I feel like throws off. I don't know. I guess I'm not a scientist. Maybe there's some chemicals. I don't know.
Well, we will get into theories.
Okay. Okay.
well, the thing is with rigor mortis, that takes like a few hours for rigor mortis to even set in. But you said their
Well.
hands were out like this,
Yeah.
like they wouldn't be. They would all just be laying like as they fell, and then rigor mortis would eventually have set in.
Right.
So that's where I'm like, that's why I was
What's
thinking
freaking
like,
me out.
that's why I was thinking like ice frozen, because it's like you can't rigor mortis can't just set in like unless they were laying there. I'm
So
sorry.
to de-boringify the story, that is indeed what happened.
I'm not sure that's a word, but
That they're
we'll go
just
with it.
inexplicably frozen as they were.
That's wild. Okay.
So and then finally they found the guy who sent the signal, who was also found at his post, and his body was just presumably just spread over the communications console. Like he just died right there while putting out the SOS message, which seems to explain why part of the message was gibberish.
Yeah.
Because he was,
I
as
die.
he said,
He's dying.
in strange grammar.
I
I-
die. I just
Yeah,
hope that
Poor
like
guy.
My last words being "I die." That's a grammatically strange way to announce my death.
I wonder if he was trying to be like dramatic and thus I die, but he's just like
Probably-
in
Or
the
maybe it
last
was
moment
just
he forgot
maybe
the
it was the
thus.
simplicity for Morse code's sake. I don't know.
It's
Well,
like,
and if he's actively dying, he doesn't have that much time. He's trying to just
Right.
get the message out and probably not even thinking straight. So yeah, it came out really
Ron was always so
crude.
dramatic.
Rest in peace, Ron.
R.I.P.
So, excuse me. So, despite this imagery of horror, the ship itself was undamaged, completely fine and dandy. Nothing wrong with the ship. Similarly, the bodies showed
Nothing wrong with the
injury.
ship other than the fact that everybody's fucking dead in horrified faces. Even the dog was growling at something.
I'm talking about the ship, not its.
That's good. We should talk
The
about
ship
the ship.
was
'cause if we-
structurally fine.
structurally,
Chris.
emotionally though, I don't know.
It's emotionally not fine.
Ship's going around like everyone just fucking died instantly, and I don't know how to deal with this.
I need help.
You guys need to get off of me right now because you don't know what the hell's about to happen. I don't even know what's happening.
I want to know what cargo's on this thing.
So the ship was undamaged.
Was there
because
like
at that
coffins
time-
with soil in them? This
The-
is just
the
like
ship-
this is just like the last voyage of the Demeter. That bodies were drained of blood. This is a damn vampire, guys. We gotta get the hell off here. We're gonna die.
So,
He even sucked the dog dry instantaneously. Just like
so the ship was undamaged, and of note because mental health wasn't taken seriously yet in that era. No one was considering how the ship felt.
you're fine, ship. Come on, we got some tobacco and we got to get to the Indies. Move it. Deal with your
Y'all are-
shit.
Y'all are killing me.
So the ship was undamaged, and similarly, the bodies showed no injury. Expressions of horror, sure, but nothing was wrong with the bodies, other than one thing.
Good little wounds
They
in their
were
necks.
decomposing faster than normal, as in it's just been a few hours and they're already decomposing.
In the sunlight.
Whoa!
Were they turning to dust?
Maybe. So this was just a bunch of vampires like accidentally stepping out of the ship into the light. So is this what you're telling me? They're a bunch
No,
of
I'm just saying, you know,
vampires,
like
face closed,
they've been, you know, like if you go to the like in
and
certain
their
movies,
vampire dog.
I'm just saying in certain movies, it only takes a bite from the vampire to turn you into a vampire.
This isn't
But,
a movie, Chris. This is real life.
well, I'm just, you know, just saying.
Real life.
I know a real life where everybody died instantly with horrified looks on their faces, even the pooch.
And immediately start decaying.
In
Yeah,
the
that's-
sunlight.
What causes that?
Vampirism.
I must know.
So
Was this? I mean, was it like these people died? Oh, look at that beautiful sunrise! Look down. Oh my God!
Oh my God, dude.
I don't know what could have done this.
So to Chris's earlier point, the party reported the boarding party. They reported feeling a chill in certain parts of the ship. Despite and the chill, yeah, especially in the boiler room. But the and the chill would get as low as 37 degrees Celsius, despite the fact it was a clear summer day.
It was a clear
Or
summer.
February.
Over the Indian Ocean.
Or February, but we don't know.
I don't know.
Right? So, well, again, this is somewhere between February and June of the next year. So
Do you know? Do you know? Do you know what makes things cold? Vampires.
vampires don't make things cold. Mr. Freeze makes things cold.
Yeah, but
Oh, I'm sorry. So in certain parts of the ship, it got down to as low as 4 degrees.
Oh.
okay,
But
maybe
it was like a warm day, you said.
Ooh,
Like,
or may I
that's-
propose?
It was
May
a
I
warm
propose
Sunny day.
a vampire Mr. Freeze? Everybody chill. I have to drink your blood.
It'd be really awkward to drink frozen blood.
Well, maybe he just likes. I mean, I
It'd
don't
have to
know.
be like in popsicle form.
well, it's like when you drink like you'd get a shake or a smoothie or like
Maybe.
a malt,
You
and
know,
you
he's all-
have
he's
to
all
have a
like-
big straw.
He's all like,
And then he
everybody
gets brain
chill.
freeze.
And then he's like, I
That's how
got
vampires
popsicle
get brain
sticks. And then he just like pokes them into their bodies and just pulls out like one big giant blood ball lollipop. He's just
I
like,
think we're close to cracking this one.
we are.
We're not even halfway in.
We're coming for you, Schwarzenegger. We know it was you.
We see you.
You're going to pay for your crimes.
So at this point, the captain of the Silver Star decides to tow the Medan back to port. It's like, everybody's dead. Let's at least see if we can salvage the ship and bring it back.
Do you know also what repels vampires besides the normal like crosses and holy water?
Steak.
Silver.
Well, I sadly have to
Yes.
remind you that at the time it was the Santa Juana.
Oh. Whatever.
Sorry to ruin that. It wouldn't become silver until much later.
I still think this is a vampire, guys. I'm just saying.
So anyway, the Medan is towed to the Silver Star, and the Silver Star is towing this dead ship back to port. Well, it was going to, rather. Just as soon as everybody gets back to the Silver Star and tethers the ship, it blows up. The Ourang Medan blows up. Explodey. Blows up.
Fucking convenient.
Well, the fact is, the vampire probably was like, I don't want all of these victims returning as I am only vampire. I must destroy them. And what destroys vampires? Fire.
But there weren't any vampires or anything else living left on the ship at that point. Everyone's already dead.
He
Vampires
rigged
gone.
it before he got off. He slipped into their ship. Dude, come on.
So he's a genius, Mr. Freeze vampire on top of it?
If he's a vampire, he's like centuries old. He's really smart. And
There are some
vampires-
dumb old people out there.
not
It's
this
like
guy.
Dracula or
He's
something.
got
I
to
don't know.
survive, man. Dracula, dude. You got to read Dracula sometime. I'm just saying. This is a vampire. He's cunning. He's cleaning up to make sure none of his victims come back. because he wants to be the only one, or he wants to control who comes back. And then he just turned into mist, and then like onto their ship, and then he's just kind of like
cold mist.
Exactly. That's
No.
4 degrees to 30 something degrees, and
But before it exploded, they did see smoke billowing from the number 4 cargo hold below the deck.
okay, case closed. Vampire.
It's close.
Thanks for joining us for a little podcast of horror. Dude,
If you have a case for us to solve,
that involves vampires.
This is the
or if it
master.
doesn't, because trust me, it will afterward.
I'm just kidding. There's much more to this episode. Keep listening. Don't go anywhere.
So the explosion was so violent that it lifted the hole from the water. That kind of explosion.
Whoa.
It lifted the hole from the water?
The entire hole. And mind you,
Hull.
this is a crater.
I'm sorry. I thought you said hole. It was just kind
The
of like
whole, the whole
I was like,
hull.
Hull.
Hull. I know what you mean. Wow. Yeah, that's an impressive explosion.
Yeah, this isn't
What
a
were
little
they-
speedboat. This is a freighter.
Were they carrying anything like weapons or anything? Did you
We
address
will
that?
get
I'm
into
sorry.
that.
Oh,
We
okay.
don't even know
Sure.
when this happened. We don't know if the ship even exists. You're all like, what was the manifest? I don't know. Whatever somebody wants to say when they're telling the story. Like, oh, there was nothing but tobacco and Egyptian treasure on this
Listen,
ship.
we know the ship existed, okay?
Do we though? Because it blew up because Vlad did not want to leave anything behind.
And then he erased Silver Star's like the crew members' memories.
Well, he did a bad job because the Silver Star made it back just fine. Everybody alive and remembering everything.
Oh man, he
Thinking
sucks.
like I'm just thinking like Adam Sandler Dracula, like he's all like, you do not know when this happened. Maybe it happened in February of 43, or maybe it was 45.
Right. I should revise that. Everybody on the ship made it back alive and remembered everything except apparently what year a month it was.
Weird shit happened, Sarah. I don't know what. I don't even know what year it is.
So, oh my gosh. Okay, so the ship explodes, breaks into two, and sinks into the Indian Ocean, never to be seen again.
Kind of like the Titanic.
So it's worth noting like just the astounding luck that the crew of the Silver Star had, because keep in mind that just moments ago the Silver Star was sitting starboard to this thing, so they were very
Mhm.
close. They had just moved ahead. The captain was smart enough to have them cut the tether as soon as they saw smoke. Nobody from the Silver Star had stayed behind on the Medan. Like it was very fortunate, like the timing of all that.
Was it fortunate?
Or too
Or was it-
convenient.
Or was it the vampire being like, dear captain, you must move away because I need a ride home. Forget that you saw me.
I like to think it was a smart captain, and if I had been on that ship, I would have felt very fortunate.
Well, I like to think it was a vampire because that's sexier.
It was a vampire captain. Okay, we can both. It was Captain Vampire.
The Adventures of Captain Vampire. He doesn't know what year, what month this is happening, but he's gonna suck your blood and get you to your destination on time.
So let's talk about how this story got into the public mind. Excuse me. So
There's no excuse for you.
the first news reports about this, onto the scene comes a gentleman by the name of, you ready for me to mispronounce a whole bunch of other stuff?
If you're
Yeah.
about to say something like Alucard, I'm gonna be like,
Silvio Shirley.
and don't call me Shirley.
But you can call me Silvio. So Silvio Shirley is a fairly important name in the story. So the ship first appears in print in a 3-article series that's in the Dutch Indonesian newspaper, and I'm going to try to pronounce this. Okay, here we go.
I don't think that's how you pronounce it.
in Dutch, De locomotief samenrangs handels in advertentieblad.
Nailed it. Wait, what was that last word?
BLAD.
Blood.
Advertentieblad. Advertentie-blad. It's Dutch, Chris. Dutch.
Oh, it's Dutch, is it? You know what they say? You know what it is in America? Blood. What vamps drink. Dude, I'm gonna we could write a killer script to this. I'm just saying. It's like
TM.
it's like everything is just laying down he's just giving it to all of us. He's just rubbing it in our faces at this point. It's like
these three articles in this Dutch Indonesian newspaper. This is when it first appears in print, and this is the 3-article series happens across February through March 1948.
Or 49 or 50. We don't know.
So these first 3 articles, they stated that the Medan was found 400 nautical miles, which is 460 miles for us landlubbers, southeast of the Marshall Islands. The 3rd article of that series then details the experiences of the Medan's sole survivor.
What?
What?
The dog.
Yeah,
It
the
was
sole
the dog, he
survivor
lived.
where everybody died.
The
Don't
sole
worry.
survivor is the vampire. What's the sole survivor's name? Tell me about it.
Alucard, like you said.
It's all we know is it's an unnamed German.
An unnamed
He's an unnamed German, but it sounded like Alucard.
So all versions of the story I've encountered have been everyone on the ship died. This is the one variant, which is interesting because it's the first one. This is the first time the story appears in print where we have one survivor. And basically, according to this newspaper series, this unidentified German dude washes up on shore on one of the islands, I presume. I presume he washed up because that's where they find him.
Mhm.
He's found by an Italian missionary and natives on Taongi Atoll, which is in the Marshall Islands. So the survivor tells the Italian missionary that the ship was sloppily carrying, sloppily in my words, carrying oil of vitriol, which is, I know nothing about, but it's supposed to be
Toxic.
stuff. So stuff that can explode.
Okay.
So basically the ship was carrying, according to the one survivor, ship is carrying oil of vitriol, but it's ramshackle, so they did not do a good job of containing it. So the what's the word I'm looking for? Containers containing the stuff leak. The fumes rise up the ship and kill everybody.
But why were they frozen?
Instantaneously?
Exactly. That's the question. That only answers like half of the situation, right? And supposedly the Medan was sailing from some unidentified, unspecified Chinese port to Costa Rica and trying to avoid detection from authorities, all along its trip. But the survivor just manages to get his story out to this Italian missionary before he immediately dies. Hence, we don't know the guy's name. Just he manages to spit his stories out and croaks.
Was he assassinated?
Had his own I die moment.
Was he assassinated? Is
Not
this
that
a
I know of.
conspiracy?
Not that I know of.
Did he
But
die from blood loss?
But for this version of the story, the only source that we have is that Italian missionary.
Okay.
So the missionary then recounts that story to the author, Silvio Shirley of Trieste, Italy. So Silvio Shirley is the source of this whole story, and he in turn got that story from the Italian missionary who supposedly encountered the German survivor. So that newspaper series of 3 articles concludes with a disclaimer. And just to quote that real quick, this is the last part of our story about the mystery of the Ourang Medan. We must repeat that we don't have any other data on this mystery of the sea, nor can we answer the many unanswered questions in the story. It may seem obvious that the entire story is a fantasy, a thrilling romance of the sea. On the other hand, the author, Silvio Shirley, assures us of the authenticity of the story.
And he's totally not a vampire. Just get that out of your heads right now, guys. He's a regular guy. I know what you were thinking. He's not.
So following that, the story appears in print again in the Dutch newspaper Elsevier's Weekly in 1948, in the Albany Times, New York newspaper, on October 10th, 1948. And then in the May 1952 issue of the U.S. Coast Guard's Proceedings of the Merchant Marine Council. So, like, even the Coast Guard reported on it.
So, did you say, like, are we taking Silvio Shirley's word, or did they actually interview people of the Silver Star too? Like,
this specific 3 articles of this one newspaper is going entirely on his word.
okay.
As far as later newspapers, I know that one of them referenced this one, but like, I don't know where the Coast Guard got their info. Like, I'm not sure. And we will hear a little more from the crew of the Silver Star.
Okay.
Well, actually, that was my next note. So we'll get to the official reports that come out of like the U.S. Coast Guard. They include what they had to report included the Silver Star, the Silver Star's crew's description of how they find the bodies.
Okay. So not okay. I was like, is
US
this whole
Coast Guard
thing made up?
Yeah, U.S. Coast Guard report describes the bodies as I described them to you, and at least some of the members of the Silver Star's crew go, "Yep, that's what happened."
Okay.
Now, to further confuse the timeline, there is another couple of reports out there that really throw things off. The Skittish Library, and I'm not familiar with what that is, but basically they found 1940 Associated Press reports, and basically a couple of newspapers that were referencing the Associated Press, that placed the incident in the Solomon Islands instead of where I was talking about, and with a different SOS message entirely, though it still refers to Silvio Shirley as a source. And if you're keeping your dates straight, that being a report in 1940 makes no lick of sense.
Right. Okay.
Unless Silvio Shirley was reporting about the future.
Oh my goodness.
So
There's time traveling.
Time traveling vampire. Oh my gosh. We got the next blockbuster, guys.
So some people cite this to debunk the story, basically saying like, so this was a hoax. You know, if we're referencing the same guy as far back as 1940 with a similar story, but the message in the islands are changed, but it's more or less the same story. That's evidence of a hoax. So that's ammo for some of them.
Yeah.
So on that note, investigations that follow, the investigators found, or didn't find rather, that the name Ourang Medan, boy, I was about to just grammarly butcher the sentence. Let me back up. So investigators doing their investigation, they don't find mention of any records of the Ourang Medan anywhere, as in no maritime records of it, no registration, nothing. No such name exists of any such ship.
So we don't know if this ship was real at all.
It wasn't registered to any ports.
Guys.
Oh my God.
So when it comes to a ship, there's more to the name, right? Like Titanic is RMS Titanic. What was the Ourang Medan? Was there any letters before that?
One of the sources I cited where it was quoting the transcript of the the Morse code message, at least the Wikipedia version of it. I've encountered a couple of versions of it that were, but USS Medan, but it's a Dutch freighter.
Or SS, right? You could say SS, right?
Hold that thought.
What else? Who else had the initials SS?
Steven Spielberg.
Christina? I
Susan
don't need
Silver Surfer?
into this story. Sylvia Shirley. S. It's the vampire rubbing it in her face.
Oh, I was thinking Nazis though. I thought that's what you were kind of
Actually, I
getting
thought
at,
that
but
too.
you
I actually thought that
Sylvia,
too.
Okay.
I also was like, or this is a Nazi.
So let's talk about Otto Milke or Milk. I don't know. Again, this is another name I don't know how to pronounce. It's
What?
Mielke. He's German. Otto. So I guess
Okay.
Otto Milk.
Otto
Not
Milk.
Not milk. Not like a bottle of milk.
I am
Milk.
Otto Milk.
Yeah.
Milk, I guess. I can't talk German.
Sie
Don't ask
nein.
me to talk German. I don't know what I'm
Guten
doing.
Tag. Mein Name ist Otto Milk.
Yeah, that guy.
Ist dies bitte? Mhm.
So our boy Otto was a
Our
German
boy
author.
Otto.
He was a German author who published research in 1954 that was, again, validated by some of the Silver Star's crew.
Okay.
So Otto cites
Silver Star. Also. S.
As
S.
it was a Cento
coincidence.
something.
I think not. Vampire.
Otto puts out research citing stuff that hadn't been published previously, and some of the Silver Star's crew goes, "Yep, that's valid." So, but some of these new details include the ship's last known location and its planned routes, and details the Medan's cargo, which included potassium cyanide and
Oh, shit.
nitroglycerin. Them
Would
things beat you up.
nitroglycerin freeze you?
No, but it'll blow shit
It'll
up.
explode you.
It will explode
It will definitely
Okay.
explode you and make your car go really fast.
you.
It's the key ingredient of the Fast and the Furious franchise.
It will also
Oh,
blow up
okay.
your cargo.
Now, the problem with this claim is that any ship that was carrying this stuff would have never been allowed to leave its port.
Yeah, there's regulations even then. You cannot travel with that kind. You can't.
So let's talk about some theories.
Ooh.
Do any of them involve vampires?
Well, I guess you'll be surprised to learn that no, not at all.
Lame.
You're unique. You're an original, Chris.
You know, that was a show about vampires, the originals.
You're one of
Right.
them.
So,
I love you.
so some people, and by some people, I mean we have no idea who we're talking about. But
Or if they're
apparently
people, or if they're people, or vampires,
vampires are people too, Chris.
or Nazis.
Lizard
SS.
people.
So
Shitty people.
some people
Evil
conclude
people.
that this was a smuggling ship that disguised itself with a fake name, which
Okay.
theory has some credence. It could have been far away from shipping routes to avoid detection, as one of the previous claims I cited said.
Mhm.
And another theory is that seawater could have entered the cargo hold, reacted with that stuff,
Yeah.
and released toxic gases when it came into contact, which would have, toxic gases kill you, and it eventually would have sparked an explosion once the seawater contacted the nitroglycerin specifically. I
Mhm.
don't know the science. I'm assuming that's what would happen, but who knows?
Who
So
knows?
if you know a science, feel free to let us know what happens when seawater touches nitroglycerin.
Tell us what
But
happens. Science.
But a problem with this theory is that that's great and all and would explain why the crew died, but why did the rescue party come aboard the ship and was A-okay?
And how did the vampire
True.
get off undetected? Explain
And
that.
why were they frozen with in their poses?
And where did the vampire go after? We need
Straight
to
to
know
hell.
this.
And why were they already decomposing?
Don't judge them
Right.
because of the sun, Christina. We've talked about this. Don't judge them. You don't know. They might be to hell. Wow. I didn't know you were that kind of person, but wow. My best friend, everybody.
So the potassium cyanide that was with the nitroglycerin, supposedly that the potassium cyanide kills quickly, but not
Mhm.
painfully. So that's another possibility. But as you mentioned, well, still leaves the question: what's with the poses?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and plus, if I've watched too many movies, obviously, but being serious for a second too, like with cyanide, like you always see in the movies they're foaming in the mouth. I don't know how accurate that is, but yeah, like I want to know what would cause the rigor
Airborne.
mortis to kick in that fast. Like that is actually seriously, that's something I'm still hung up on.
Okay.
Mhm.
So other researchers, and notice my air quotes again,
Other.
other researchers have who? I don't know. But other researchers
This is Tim. He lives down the street. He has a Bachelor of Arts, but
I think Chris counts as one of the other researchers here. Other researchers think
I don't know how to
they
take
don't
that.
think it was carrying that nitroglycerin and potassium cyanide, but
Mhm.
rather they think the ship was carrying a nerve agent called tabun, Tabun. I'm tabun. It's gotta be tabun. Tabun sounds right. Let's say tabun.
Mhm. Okay.
The nerve agent tabun, which was infamously used by
Nazis.
Nazis. And
You know
they
what
shared it
else?
with Japan, their allies at the time.
And think about this for a second. If you take the letters Tabun and replace them all and add a few more, you have Dracula.
Fact.
Brilliant. It was right in front of us the whole time.
We're coming for you, Vlad. We know. You vampire Nazis.
Not like you've been saying SS this entire time.
So it's
There's
a nerve.
Dracula, Elena.
So it's a nerve agent. Would that freeze them in place? Like, I don't
Actually,
I'm going to ask that every
Yeah, so
time.
hold
Is
that
that
thought,
would
hold
that
that
do that?
So hold that thought. So just table the thought for a second. So one theory is it was carrying Nazi Tabun. A similar theory is that the cargo came from another Axis power, Japan. Specifically, it was cargo from Japan's infamous military vessel, Unit 731. Unit 731 was known during World War II for the biological and chemical experiments that were conducted on it, that were carried out on live American and Chinese POWs.
this is times like these I wish I had
Oh.
pursued my career in chemical engineering. If only I didn't. If only I knew anything about chemical engineering.
Or if you
But
had even considered pursuing a career.
But I don't.
So similar theory is that maybe not straight Nazis, but that it was Unit 731's cargo that was now being carried on this ship. Which, in following that theory, someone might go on to surmise that some of the surviving crew of previous Unit 731 could have been on board as well, and thus ensuring its secrecy. Holding a gun to your head to make sure you don't say over the radio, who you actually are.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So just to tangent a little, to tell you a little bit about Unit 731 if you don't know about them. One time, fun story. They tied their prisoners in concentric circles around a live grenade, which they then exploded. The whole point of the experiment was that they could surgically, masterfully hone their explosives efficiency. So
Also
let's test our explosives on people and
Wow.
learn how to make them more efficient.
Also, a side point to that whole thing was how big of dicks could we be? Answer: pretty big.
And of note, Tabin would have been one of the things that the U.S. likely would have tried to get from the Nazis post World War II. You know, when we were trying to recruit Nazi scientists and all that kind of jazz.
Oh yeah.
Operation Paperclip.
Yes. So maybe this is another Philadelphia experiment-like story where the U.S. was doing some secret science on the side that went wrong again. Maybe.
And that's why an American ship was just in the area and went and retrieved them. But it blew up. It blew up.
That's a good point.
So to lend credence to the Tabin theory is that Tabin has a low persistence level, meaning that it would have been gone by the time of the rescue. So the toxic gas would have risen up, killed everybody, and then had time to dissipate before the Silver Star showed up.
But
and here's the other part of the question. Tabin also blocks the neurotransmitters that are responsible for relaxing your muscles.
There it is.
So that's what lends credence to the Tabin theory.
Yeah.
there
Again,
goes.
I am not a chemist. I am assuming all of this is correct.
And there goes
But
my
who knows?
entire
We're talking about ghost
vampire
ships.
belief. Lame.
And apparently some researchers have devoted more than 50 years of their lives to this case. I mean, people have been cracking away at this one forever. So, I want to close the story out with my final and favorite reference from CIA.gov. Sweet.
Okay, shit.
So, the Ourang Medan, the Ourang Medan.
The Ourang Medan!
Medan!
Dang, that orang is my dang.
Ourang Medan!
I'm so sorry.
The Medan is mentioned in a letter again some years later on December 5th, 1959, in a
Or 60
document.
or 61. We don't know.
No, we know on this one.
Oh, okay.
We know.
We know.
This is
We
a
know
private
now.
letter dated December 5th, 1959, written by C.H. Mark, who was at the time the assistant director of the CIA. This private letter was fairly recently declassified by the CIA. Mostly declassified. Some of it's redacted, including the name of the recipient of the letter. So we know it was coming from the assistant director of the CIA, but we don't know who it was written to. Excuse me.
I just feel like with a, it's like C.H. Mark, because nobody wants to know the CIA has been run by a guy named Clyde.
So this was declassified in 2003, apparently. So author shows will, quote excerpts from this private letter. But, I'm going to go the extra mile. I have that letter in front of me, and we'll read it to you. And now, before I sound like that's too big a flex, like you can Google this really quickly, but it's on the CIA.gov site.
You can't.
I'm not going to Google it.
He had to go through several databases and firewalls, and he had to dress up like a milkmaid, and I mean, it was a weird.
And then announce it to the world on a podcast.
And then, but and then he dropped into this room on some ropes, and I had to pull him up, and he got the letter. Enjoy this exclusive letter that nobody has ever seen, other than us and a few other people.
Okay, so this is a letter again from the assistant director of the CIA at the time.
That nobody's ever had except us.
Sure. Dear redacted. On May 29,
Dear, I feel like I'm sorry. We need to. I need to put music in and be like, dear redacted. I have thought about
bleep
you
out when I say
often
redacted.
and during these dark times. Your love and soft touch stays with me in my heart. If we are not to meet in this life, perhaps we shall meet again in the glory of the Lord. Love always. Pseudonym.
Not that kind of letter.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Would you like to hear the secret CIA letter?
Okay, I'm sorry. I
Yes.
will not interrupt. I will keep my mouth shut.
We'll
no
see.
more.
There are going to be some spots where you're going to want to interrupt. We'll see if you can resist.
Just watch the YouTube video, guys. It's about to be funny.
Dear redacted. On May 29, 1958, I sent you a letter concerning crews disappearing from ships on the high seas, or ships which have disappeared without trace. Well,
Ships, plural.
yes. Well, I have just read a weird story concerning the Dutch vessel SS Ourang Medan. I will be indeed grateful for your opinion of the story. Also, do you think something from the unknown is involved?
Shit.
In early February 1948, an SOS came from the SS Ourang Medan. Dutch and British listening posts located the vessel as proceeding through Malacca Strait. The sea was calm, the weather clear. SOS again came from the frenzied call. After a short silence, all officers, including captain, dead, lying in chart room and on bridge, probably whole crew dead. There followed a series of indecipherable dots and dashes, and then came quite clearly, I die. Rescue ships from Dutch Sumatra and British Malaya rushed to the indicated location of the vessel in distress. They found her only 50 miles from the position given. Boats were put over the sides to investigate. When boarding parties reached the Ourang Medan, they found an eerie sight. There wasn't a living creature on the ship. The captain lay dead on the bridge. The bodies of the other officers sprawled in the wheelhouse, chart room, and wardroom. The faithful Sparks was slumped in a chair in the radio shack, his hand still on the sending key. The bodies of the crew lay elsewhere, in their rooms, in the passageways, on the decks, and on all the dead faces was a look of convulsive horror. As a report of the proceedings of the Merchant Marine Council put it, their frozen faces were upturned to the sun. The mouths were gaping open and the eyes staring. Everyone was dead. Even the ship's dog, a small terrier, was lifeless, its teeth bared in anger or agony. But strangely, there was no sign of wounds or injuries on any of the bodies. After a quick conference, the boarding parties decided to put a tow line onto the vessel and take her into port. But at that very moment, smoke and flames bellowed forth from number 4 hold. The fire was immediately so hot and so widespread that it was impossible to subdue. The boarding parties hurriedly abandoned the vessel and returned to safety of their own ships. Moments later, there was a terrific explosion on the Ourang Medan, and then the vessel sank with all her dead crew. I feel sure that the SS Ourang Medan tragedy holds the answer to many of these airplane accidents and unsolved mysteries of the sea. Also, I have often thought about the many sightings of huge fiery spheres rising from the sea or disappearing into the sea by ships' captains and crews in the 18th and 19th centuries. There are alarming passages in Old English chronicles written in medieval Latin and in Latin incunabula, I don't know that word, or books printed before the year 1500 AD, which suggests that these fiery spheres cause destruction and that they come from within our planet. For instance, in 216 BC, things like ships were seen in the sky over Italy. In Sardinia, a knight was making his rounds, inspecting the post, guarding the rampart, when a stick in his hands burst into flames. The same thing happened to Roman soldiers in Sicily who saw their javelins flame and burn in their hands. At Arpi, a round shield was seen in the sky. Also, in AD 1067, people saw fire that flamed and burned fiercely in the sky. It came near the earth, and for a little time brilliantly lit it up. Afterwards, it revolved, ascended on high, then descended into the sea. In several places, it burned woods and plains. Yes, the enchanting sea. What terrifying secret does it hold? I feel sure that the SS Ourang Medan tragedy also holds the answer to this secret. So, sincerely yours, C.H. Mark Jr.
It was aliens.
Alien
Aliens.
vampires.
Alien ice vampires.
Alien Arnold Schwarzenegger Mr. Freeze vampires.
Well, people
Take
to this
me
day
to your
still,
leader so that they can chill and I can drink the blood.
well, people to this day like see unidentified flying objects over the ocean.
Well, and the thing is, when you say on fire, but like, I remember one description it always stuck with me was a self-illuminated, like it was glowing like an amber, like a fire, So, man, that's interesting. The writer describes it like a fire.
I just like to think that the recipient of this was redacted to save his embarrassment. It's like, this Mark guy, he was a little bit on the crazy side, writing crazy letters.
Sincerely,
All this fancy
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
talk. Now, I'm sure you would have noticed that some of the details of this letter's retelling of the story varied from my telling of the story.
Yeah.
So again, pick your favorite version, but I this is the one coming from a CIA letter, so take that as you will, which dates it at 1948. But yeah, there was at least some chat about the CIA talking about this and wondering if it held the answer to airplane disappearances, which, of notes, if you remember the not so long ago disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, it was in that area.
What?
Oh.
Holy shit.
Yep. Yeah, the final sighting on military radar was near the Strait of Malacca.
So we need to take a moment here to think about what just happened here with this story. Christina started this off, which it was Christina giving James this story. And it was supposed, and right off, it's like paranormal sounds like, right? And James just fucking took it and it turned into mysterious, unexplained alien, maybe vampires, Nazis,
and the CIA,
and also CIA government. Ladies and gentlemen, I've had a couple of drinks. I need about 7 more to just process what just happened in this particular episode.
Well, of course, James was going to put his unique touch on it.
He didn't just put his unique touch on it.
I love that.
He took his unique fucking weird hammer and he smashed it to pieces and he mailed it to the U.S. government. And then they redacted it.
I didn't create the story. I'm just reporting on it.
I know. This is me complimenting you. I'm just like, jeez.
None of this is from my mind.
Yeah, well, Chris, when I read like the synopsis for this story, I was thinking, oh, it's probably like a chemical, okay, like, and it killed everybody on the ship. And so I was still, in very realistic terms when I sent it to him. But I do love that there are lots of theories. And we've got this weird CIA letter that makes it seem spooky and like aliens.
Yes.
Maybe it's just scientific. We don't know, but it's like
This just
it's
went.
spooky.
James just went. He went a full circle. He went to all of our area. He started, and he knows what he did. He started this off talking
I
about how
triangulated
we all
this.
have our unique areas of expertise. And what he didn't say was, I'm now about to pummel through every one of them. He's like, hey, Chris, do you like ghost stuff? Buckle up, pal. Hey, Christina, do you like unsolved, like little crime mysteries? Well, you know what?
Got a little dash of CIA to it.
And then everybody's like,
I love
hey,
that.
who likes
That
my
was-
weird, sciencey, alien, government cover-up shit? I'm about to take all of that. I'm about to stuff it in a jar and shake it up and force feed it to both of you.
The CIA letter was chef's kiss. Like
That was,
yeah, I'm so glad you found that. That's
oh
amazing.
my gosh. If this episode doesn't have
glad
like
I
a
had
million
CIA.
views in a week, I'm out. You people have no idea the gold that he just delivered upon all of you. So,
Courtesy
Damn.
of Google.com.
Oh, and we're gonna record an episode after this, and it's mine, so I have to go after this bullshit. That's not cool.
I'm going to cut that out. Because we can't, they have to think that I don't know what I have to think.
That we're in a fancy
Everybody-
studio and that we meet every day to record an episode.
We meet
Every-
once a day to do an
That we pay
episode
well.
in our private studio on the 47th
That's
Yeah.
a yacht.
in New
That's-
York.
That's not a
In the middle of
secret
the
that
Indian
people batch record in one sitting.
James,
Not a
good
secret.
episode. Damn it.
Well, I felt like, man, Christina's giving me a softball here because this is just turning into more of my stuff.
I really just thought it was going to be chemicals, like they died.
I really thought it was going to be chemical. I'm sorry. I didn't know it was going to turn into alien government and cover up
I see alien.
vampires, maybe, possibly.
Listen,
Ghost
James,
stuff.
I've never
you're
mentioned
welcome. Well, I did. Look at that CIA letter. Come on.
I just
You
mentioned
know,
Nazis
when
and
James-
Axis forces. That's
Here's the thing, too. When James said something about ghost ship, I immediately like, oh, is this episode going to be about the Flying Dutchman? Here we are, cut to the end.
I mean, there is a Dutchman.
What just happened? What just happened?
The ship did fly for a very brief moment.
Yeah, it levitated.
Made the hole come up. Well, thanks,
Well,
guys. That was a great
yeah.
story. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Damn.
Hey, folks, remember to, like this podcast, share it with people if they might be interested in this sort of content. You can find us on Facebook, Little Podcast of Horrors. You can find us
And
on
why would you be on
Instagram.
Facebook? But if you are on Facebook for God knows why, you can find us there.
If you happen
We're
to be
there.
if you happen to be a vampire that was the vampire in question on this ship, I'm sorry. I was just like hidden around, and if I got right by accident, please don't come for me. I'm sorry.
He has very tasty blood.
No, I don't.
His address is
Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.